What if I told you that reality is constantly attempting to communicate with you, yet you've been conditioned to disregard it? Day after day, there are subtle hints placed in your path, moments so exact that they defy the idea of random chance. It could be a song that starts the moment you think of someone, a number sequence that seems to pop up everywhere you look, or a complete stranger who randomly appears with precisely the answer you've been seeking. You may have dismissed these moments as coincidences, but a part of you always suspected there was more happening behind the scenes. And you're correct. Synchronicities aren't random events. They're deliberate signals, patterns woven into the very fabric of existence, giving you a nudge towards something bigger. Ancient cultures understood this. Mystics and philosophers devoted themselves to it. Today, however, mainstream society labels these occurrences as luck, chance, or randomness, because the established system doesn't want you to grasp the true nature of these events. These moments reveal that the universe isn't what conventional teaching says it is. In this video, we're going to uncover what synchronicities truly represent, why they occur, and how to harness them to transform your life. From the instant you entered this world, you were molded to believe in a realm governed by logic, structure, and predictability. Everything was supposed to have a rational explanation, and if something didn't fit that mold, it was disregarded as mere coincidence or fancy. But imagine that this wasn't an accident. Imagine it was set up to keep you from seeing deeper forces at play. Reflect on your early years. As a child, you had a natural sensitivity to patterns, energy, and intuitive promptings. You noticed how events came together with impeccable timing, how you sensed certain things before they happened, how you just knew when you crossed someone's mind. Yet what took place when you attempted to share those experiences with others? You were told it was all in your head, advised to trust only what could be measured, documented, or proven. You were taught that the world was strictly physical, a machine with no deeper intelligence, where everything was disconnected and accidental. Consequently, you gradually stopped paying attention. Your education played a huge role in stifling that awareness. You weren't taught to listen to your intuition, pick up on synchronicities, or sense energy. Instead, you were taught to memorize facts, adhere to rules, and respect authority. Imagination, creativity, and abstract thinking were sidelined in favor of analytical reasoning and hard data. If you couldn't measure or weigh it, it wasn't considered real, and questioning that worldview was discouraged. The entire setup reinforces the notion that external authorities hold all the answers, while your own inner knowledge is deemed invalid. Science was elevated to the role of absolute truth, not the kind of science that opens the door to new frontiers, but a rigid materialist version, insisting that all of reality is random and meaningless, fully explainable by chance alone. Through that lens, synchronicities are brushed off as nothing more than mental quirks. If the number 1111 keeps showing up every time you glance at a clock, that's just confirmation bias. If you meet the exact person you need at the exact moment you need them, that's just good luck. Under this perspective, nothing carries deeper meaning, and so you end up disconnected from the forces guiding you. But here is the hidden story they aren't telling you. Several of history's greatest minds, Carl Jung, Nikola Tesla, Albert Einstein, acknowledged that reality isn't the random expanse many claim it to be. They saw synchronicities, patterns, and inconspicuous linkages as hints that point to a larger truth. Meanwhile, society scoffs at anyone who takes these incidents seriously. Talk about synchronicities, and you're branded as superstitious or irrational. People who embrace synchronicities are ridiculed as spiritual eccentrics, while those who cling to a strict materialist mindset are applauded as the sensible, rational ones. It's no coincidence. It's how social conditioning works. If you desire to keep a population under control, the simplest path is to make sure they never uncover their personal power. Because once you take synchronicities seriously, you realize you're part of something vast and interconnected. The real motive they don't want you seeing synchronicities is because these occurrences poke holes in the illusion. They demonstrate that reality isn't simply an uncaring mechanism. It's an interconnected tapestry, attuned to your mental states, your emotional energy, and your intentions. When you start perceiving the patterns, you can't unsee them, and that is where genuine awakening begins. The next set of questions you face is this. If synchronicities aren't random, what are they exactly? Where do they originate? And why do they seem to proliferate once you become aware of them? Let's explore even further. Nearly everyone has encountered an event so uncanny and perfectly orchestrated that the possibility of it being random seems absurd. Perhaps you think of an old friend you haven't talked to in ages, and seconds later, they reach out. You flip open a book to a page that precisely answers the troubling question you've had on your mind. Or you keep seeing the same sequences of numbers, 111, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, popping up in countless places, as if reality itself is leaving markers in your path. These moments aren't trivial accidents. They're deliberate signals, and the more you pay attention, the more you'll find them showing up. But here's what many people miss. Synchronicities are not mere curiosities. They're purposeful transmissions from a profound intelligence, one that has quietly been guiding you from the start. The universe isn't disjointed or accidental. Rather, it's a dynamic field in which energy and consciousness are interwoven. Every thought, every aspiration, every feeling you emit sends out a sort of energetic frequency, akin to a radio broadcast. Synchronicities are the cosmos echoing back, creating a bridge between seen and unseen, physical and mystical, conscious and subconscious. Carl Jung, a pioneer in modern psychology, coined the term synchronicity after countless instances of unexplainable coincidences that carried undeniable meaning. He suggested these occurrences were manifestations of a deeper order underlying our experiences, an idea that has roots in ancient spiritual systems. Eastern teachings use the concept of karma. Mystics refer to divine timing, while certain quantum physicists speak of non-locality, the principle that everything in the universe is linked, transcending space and time. Mainstream science, however, generally keeps its distance, writing off these stories as illusions, even though there's a wealth of evidence pointing in a different direction. Consider how everything in the universe is built on recurring and harmonious structures. Nature uses fractal geometry, planetary orbits follow mathematical ratios, DNA contains repeated genetic codes. Everywhere, we see patterns, cycles, and deep interrelationships. Why would human experience be exempt from those same principles? The reality is that it's not. Synchronicities demonstrate that a hidden architecture underlies our day-to-day lives. They're glimpses behind the curtain, small revelations of the invisible system that binds it all together. And once you notice them, you see how malleable reality can be, far more so than you ever believed. So if synchronicities are coded messages, who or what is conveying them? Some people say they stem from your own higher self, nudging you toward the right path. Others attribute them to the collective unconscious, a shared mental reservoir that Carl Jung proposed. Still others see them as signals from an external intelligence, call it the universe, God, source energy, or a simulated reality speaking to its participants. Regardless of the source, one fact stays consistent. Synchronicities aren't meaningless. They call you to wake up, to observe more closely, and to move from autopilot to conscious creation. Because once you really recognize them, you see that the so-called randomness of your life was never random to begin with. We now have a logical next question. If synchronicities are truly purposeful, then what mechanism causes them to emerge? And just as significantly, how can you leverage them to revolutionize your life? The hidden workings of reality hold answers to both these inquiries, so let's probe still deeper. If synchronicities are directed messages from a deeper intelligence, How do they manifest in such precisely timed ways? What's going on behind the scenes that allows such perfect alignments to happen? The truth is, there's an underlying dynamic that shows us these events aren't unplanned, and once you uncover it, you'll realize you have far more sway over reality than you've been told. At the heart of synchronicities is a simple yet powerful principle. Your consciousness doesn't merely observe reality, it also shapes it. Modern neuroscience tells us that the brain filters the information you receive based on where you place your attention. This is governed by the reticular activating system, RAS, a network in your brainstem that decides which stimuli reach your conscious awareness. Have you ever noticed that after buying a new car, you suddenly see the same model everywhere you go? Those cars were always out there, but your brain was ignoring them until your attention shifted. That's also how synchronicities operate. The moment you start paying attention to them or believing they are real, your mind adjusts and you witness them more often. But the explanation doesn't end with neuroscience. Quantum physics has been hinting for decades that consciousness plays a foundational role in shaping the material world. The double-slit experiment famously showed how merely observing subatomic particles can alter how they behave. This suggests that reality doesn't exist as a fixed construct external to us. It is interactive. Your thoughts, feelings, and focal points interplay with the quantum fabric of existence. Add to this the concept known as the law of vibration from metaphysics. Everything, from your body to the farthest galaxy, is comprised of energy oscillating at different frequencies. Your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs each resonate at a particular vibration. This frequency influences what you attract in life. If you habitually dwell on worry, limitation, or lack, you'll find that events in your life confirm those concerns. Conversely, when you elevate your emotional state, feeling alignment, purpose, and a willingness to see signs, you'll notice reality responding in kind. This is a key reason people who awake to synchronicities start experiencing more of them. It's not that they're simply noticing random events they used to ignore. It's that their energy has shifted, and reality is echoing that shift back to them. When your awareness is attuned to hints, patterns, or symbolic messages, you're effectively tuning your consciousness to the universe's hidden channels, like turning a radio dial to pick up a certain station. Another layer here is the role of your subconscious mind. While your conscious thoughts attend to daily routines, your subconscious works continually behind the scenes, integrating and connecting vast amounts of data. When you form a strong intention, whether you realize it or not, your subconscious mind begins arranging circumstances that align with that goal. This is why individuals who hold a strong belief in synchronicities encounter them so often. Their subconscious is actively generating the environment to bring these meaningful coincidences forward. Those who are skeptical argue it's all just selective attention, that you're only choosing to notice events that feel meaningful while ignoring the rest. But if that were the entire story, how would you explain the perfect timing and personal relevance these events so often have? How is it that people receive exactly what they need, at precisely the moment they need it, in ways that reorient their life path? Because synchronicities aren't just illusions, they're part of a multi-level dialogue among your conscious mind, your subconscious mind, and the universal intelligence directing reality. The real art is in understanding how to cooperate with this dialogue rather than blocking it. As soon as you begin to cultivate synchronicities deliberately, they shift from being random anomalies to becoming a potent instrument for your personal growth. This realization sparks the next great question. Why do some people constantly witness synchronicities while others never do? What sets apart those who flow gracefully in alignment from those who stay stuck in a disconnected state? The answer might astonish you. Moving forward, if synchronicities are truly everywhere, why are some people inundated with them, while others remain completely oblivious? Why do certain individuals glide through life seemingly guided by invisible hands, while others stumble in a world that feels disordered and empty? The explanation boils down to three factors: awareness, alignment, and belief. A large portion of society spends its days in a kind of disassociated fog, grounded in rigid logic and ingrained materialism. They were raised to see life as fundamentally mechanical. Everything just cause and effect, all outcomes explained by random luck, with an apathetic universe that offers no deeper insight. This outlook becomes a mental barrier, stopping synchronicities from appearing in their experience. Even when meaningful coincidences do surface, they shrug them off as flukes, unwilling to see any larger pattern at work. Visualize yourself in a room shrouded in darkness, where countless radio waves swirl around you. Hundreds of stations are broadcasting, but without a radio tuned to one of those frequencies, you'll never hear a sound. Synchronicities behave in a similar way. Unless your mind is tuned to the frequency of alignment, you'll miss the universal broadcast entirely. Then there are people whose lives seem to glow with synchronicities. They aren't some special breed. They've simply trained themselves to be receptive to the signals all around. They don't dismiss odd coincidences. Rather, they pay close attention and listen to their intuition, allowing patterns to guide them. Here's the compelling part. The more they notice these patterns, the more frequent those patterns become. Why? Because of two fundamental forces: the power of the subconscious and the law of vibration. Your subconscious mind never stops gathering information, detecting intricate connections and opportunities beyond your conscious awareness. By being alert to synchronicities, you effectively tell your subconscious that these events matter. It's like programming a search engine to prioritize certain results. Once your subconscious knows to look for synchronicities, it draws them to your conscious mind more consistently, facilitating those lucky occurrences that seem to happen only to certain people. Coupled with this is the energetic aspect. If you're caught in fear or negativity, your vibration contracts, and so does your perspective, making synchronicities much rarer to notice. But if you elevate your emotional and energetic state through gratitude, mindfulness, or setting positive intentions, your energy expands and you begin to move in harmony with the universal flow. Under these conditions, synchronicities become not just common, but almost predictable. One more crucial factor is trust. People who frequently encounter synchronicities have an inherent faith in the process. They aren't constantly questioning whether a sign is legitimate. They go with it. By acting on the signals, they strengthen the link, producing even more synchronicities. Meanwhile, the majority see these signs yet fail to respond. They stall, overanalyze, or dismiss them, weakening the bond until those signs begin to fade away. Remember that synchronicities aren't just small messages to note, they're openings for you to step through. The cosmos might show you the door, but it's your choice to walk in. Which brings us to the final piece. How can you become more adept at picking up these signals and translating them into real shifts in your life? After all, knowing that synchronicities exist is just the start. The real power lies in learning to interpret them and to take action. That's exactly what comes next. Let's keep going deeper. Synchronicities are everywhere, but the main obstacle is that most people don't recognize them, or they make a habit of brushing them aside. Once you learn to spot these clues and decipher their significance, you'll realize that reality has been talking to you all along. The initial step is to raise your level of awareness. Instead of assuming that random events are meaningless, acknowledge that all things interconnect. The universe uses symbols, timing, and patterns to convey ideas. Generally, you'll discover synchronicities in three major categories. Category number 1 is numbers and repeated patterns. Perhaps you consistently see 1111 or 222 or 333. These repeating numerical sequences aren't accidental. Numbers carry energetic vibrations, and noticing them repeatedly can mean something in your life is shifting. In ancient mystical traditions, numbers were believed to shape creation itself. When specific sequences start appearing, it's often a message that your energy is lining up in a particular way. Take note of what you're thinking or feeling each time these numbers present themselves. Your deeper mind is talking to you. Category number 2 is symbolic encounters. Synchronicities might manifest through particular images, animals, or themes that are meaningful to you. Perhaps a certain song starts playing at precisely the right moment, or you encounter a phrase that recurs multiple times in one day. Maybe an animal repeatedly crosses your path. These things can be more than flukes. They might be significant signs. Trust your gut. If something feels important, it probably is. Category number 3 is unusual events and meaningful coincidences. These are those special times when everything fits together in an implausible way. Maybe you're about to give up on a long-held dream when suddenly an opportunity arises, or you bump into the exact person who can offer the support you desperately need. These are not random accidents. They're guidance designed to nudge you in the right direction. Once you've recognized a synchronicity, how do you interpret it? Start by asking yourself some straightforward yet revealing questions. What was on my mind right before this happened? Is there a choice I'm grappling with? And does this event clarify it? Does it reaffirm or challenge something I've been wondering about? Is there a theme emerging over time? One effective tool is to keep a journal of all the synchronicities you notice. Numbers, symbols, conversations, anything that feels odd or meaningful. As you document these occurrences, patterns will begin to emerge, and their messages will become much more obvious. But here's the critical point. Merely becoming aware of synchronicities isn't enough. You must act on them. When a sign appears and keeps repeating, it's prodding you to move. People who live in tune with synchronicities are those who respond with trust and initiative. That leads us to the last crucial insight: how to intentionally attract more synchronicities into your daily life, using them as tools for genuine change. Let's dive into that. Identifying synchronicities is one thing, but leveraging them to pivot your life is where their true power lies. Synchronicities are more than fleeting coincidences to appreciate. They're invitations to shift your perspective, refine your alignment, and enter a state of effortless flow. The real question is whether you're prepared to notice, and most importantly, to act upon them. A lot of people regard synchronicities as enchanting yet passive occurrences, fun to observe, but not necessarily catalysts for real change. In fact, these moments are a form of direct back and forth between you and the underlying intelligence of the cosmos. They can affirm that you're on a favorable trajectory or alert you if you aren't. The individuals who appear to attract endless synchronicities didn't just get lucky. They discovered how to consciously co-create their lives. Here's how. First form, a clear intention. Synchronicities intensify around clarity. The more specific your goals and desires, the more plainly you'll see the signs. If you want direction, literally ask for it. Show me a sign I'm on the correct path, or send me the opportunities, resources, and people I need. Then be open to however those signals arrive. The universe doesn't necessarily communicate in linear, predictable patterns. It often uses symbols, intuitive nudges, and events that line up perfectly. Next, align your energy. Synchronicities are a mirror of your vibrational state. If you're bogged down by doubt, fear, or overthinking, you throw up barriers to these experiences. But if you embrace trust, enthusiasm, and receptivity, the synchronicities start to multiply. This is why you'll see surges of synchronicities during critical turning points in life, or when you're stepping into unknown territory that truly resonates with you. Practices such as meditation, mindful breathing, or visualization help you reach a higher frequency, letting synchronicities flow more freely. If you've ever felt like everything suddenly fell into place for you, it was usually because you were in that higher state of alignment. Finally, take aligned action. This is where many falter. They notice the signs, but wait for more confirmation, or get trapped in over-analysis. But synchronicities aren't just showpieces. They're calls to do something. Repeatedly encountering the same number, image, or phrase? That's no accident. It's a message prompting you. If you sense an opportunity or feel an urge to connect with a person, the universe is creating that opening for you. Once you move forward, the signs intensify. The more you trust and follow them, the more the universe arranges events for your benefit. People who are fully synced with synchronicities don't postpone the moment. They act. Because of that, they shift into a state where everything, from chance meetings to timing and doors opening, comes together seamlessly. They don't wait for life to hand them direction. They collaborate in shaping it. Now you face a decision. You know what synchronicities are, why they happen, and how you can use them. The next step is weaving all of this into your everyday life, fully embracing this new level of awareness and interconnection. That's precisely what we're about to discuss. Here's the most critical question. Now that you get the real story on synchronicities, what are you going to do with that insight? Because the vast majority of people, even after discovering what we've just gone over, will go back to their old habits. They'll spot a meaningful coincidence, feel a moment of fascination, then shrug it off as chance. Or they'll receive a sign telling them it's time to pivot, but they'll stay put, paralyzed by doubt, waiting for yet another sign, paralyzed in a cycle of hesitation. The catch is, certainty never arrives before you take a leap of faith. Society has ingrained in you the notion that these signposts are illusions, that everything can be dismissed by rationalization, that you should remain cut off from the profound intelligence propelling your life's course. But now you've glimpsed the bigger picture. Reality is anything but random. It's a deliberate system, interactive and alive, and you belong to it. Your thoughts, feelings, and choices sculpt your path. You're not just wandering aimlessly through life, you're shaping it with every intention. What does that mean practically? It means synchronicities aren't just occurring around you, they're happening for you. Every flash of perfect timing, every occurrence of repeated symbols or numbers, these are open invitations for you to shift and grow. They're opportunities to trust, to stretch your boundaries, to align with life in a deeper, more intentional way. If there's one takeaway above all others, let it be this: do not dismiss the signs. The universe initially whispers. If you ignore the whisper, it speaks louder. If you ignore that, the messages eventually subside and you sink back into unconscious patterns. If, however, you choose to notice them, if you affirm they're real and follow their lead, things start to change in a profound way. The people who ride the wave of synchronicities aren't simply more fortunate. They're paying attention, putting faith in their internal compass and leaning into the process. As a result, they experience life as though it's rigged to help them succeed, because in a sense, it is. At this point, you've noticed the patterns and felt the coincidences. Now it's time to replace doubt with trust. Keep your eyes open, follow the signs, allow them to guide your choices. Once you begin living in alignment, you'll realize synchronicities are no rarity. They're ubiquitous, always there, waiting for you to finally acknowledge them. If this resonates with you, let us know by commenting, "I understood it."